Hello and welcome to the morning meeting building Jomboy Media. And as everybody can see today, we have the most special of special guests. That's right, it is Mrs. O'Brien. That would be Jimmy, Courtney, and Luke's mom, and Ritzy's mom.
And Ritzy's, right. Don't forget Ritzy.
Can't forget that. You can't forget that. Mrs. O'Brien, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm Susan.
You are Susan.
You can call me Susan.
No, I can't do that.
JomMom. No.
JomMom. I'll call you JomMom.
No.
I won't drop a Susan on you.
No, that's okay. We're friendly.
We are friendly. How's your day going so far?
My day is great. Came into the city. It's always invigorating.
Right.
I did work in the city many years ago.
Yeah, it's been a bit.
I am a New Yorker at heart.
Yeah, exactly. Now you told me that you were nervous coming into this. So
yes, because Jimmy's really a shy person. People don't realize that, and he's like me.
Jimmy gets the shyness from you.
Right.
Now, every time I've spoken to you, I don't get the shy vibe.
Because I'm comfortable.
Okay. All right. I will do my best to make this as comfortable because we have the reason you're here. And this episode last week, for anybody that doesn't know, came out. And right away, the first comment at Susan O'Brien said,
silly me.
Both Jimmy and Courtney aren't getting the full Disneyland Paris story where Jimmy got lost. How old was he?
I think he was probably, we moved when 6, 8, 10. He was probably 9.
Okay. So, and that makes Courtney 11? Okay. So you're saying that both of their memories are slightly off.
So they both got it right. Okay. Neither one had the full story.
So why don't you start from the beginning and tell me this is the true story? Okay?
It's such a silly story.
This is the final dead-on truth from the source itself. Can you please tell me all about that day in Disneyland Paris?
So it's classic Jimmy Courtney personality too, because Jimmy, I don't know, was the nicest little kid, but he was mad at me for some reason. I was at Euro Disney by myself with 7, 9, 11, 3 kids, and my mom, who was 6, so we had her in a wheelchair. My husband was working in Paris, so we went to Euro Disney.
Right.
We don't speak French. Then a lot of people there didn't speak English, so it was a fun day. We had a great day. And as we were leaving, I don't know why Jimmy was mad at me. And he told me the other day he wasn't mad, but no, he was mad, and he was sulking. Courtney's right. See, I'm going to be the peacekeeper. They both had half it right.
Right.
He was sulking, and like Courtney would have just been mad at me and yelled at me. Jimmy would like sulk and like walk behind us. So I was going straight. I knew he was behind me, and then he wanted to go another way, but we were already going one way. I thought he would just go this way, and we would kind of meet.
Sure.
But we wound up on different streets.
Right.
So I went out first, and he went out the other way, and then after we got out, I couldn't get back in because they closed it. It was closing.
Right.
So I'm like screaming at them, and this lady, they're like, who is this crazy American lady who's yelling at me? And they didn't understand. I couldn't find him, and I was really nervous. So I did send Courtney to take Ritzy, the younger one, and my mother to Hard Rock Cafe, because we always went to the Hard Rock Cafe everywhere we went, because Courtney collected T-shirts.
Okay.
Because we traveled a lot then internationally.
That's a detail she left out.
Because we were living in Australia at the time. We were going home from New Jersey.
Oh, okay. So it was a pit stop.
It was a pit stop because my husband had a conference in France. We also went to Hong Kong.
So he wasn't there at all.
He was not. He was working. Right. So anyway, I get outside, and now I can't find him. So I send them to the Hard Rock Cafe because that's where we're supposed to go. And I'm convincing the people to please let me back in. So then I get back in, and now I'm just running around like a crazy lady, like yelling for Jimmy. And everyone's like looking at me, I'm crazy. And I don't know how, all of a sudden I turned around and I saw outside the gate Courtney holding Jimmy.
So Courtney found Jimmy.
Jimmy went to the Hard Rock Cafe because he was right. When he got out and realized we were not around, he didn't know where he was going. He went to the Hard Rock Cafe, met up with them. Courtney said to him, "Mommy's going to kill you." And my mother said to them, "You better take him back, Courtney, because she's crazy."
Right.
So we went back there, and that's the story. So they each had part of it, but Jimmy did go to the Hard Rock Cafe, but Courtney grabbed him back and brought him back to me.
Okay.
And I did want to kill him.
Okay, but you didn't.
I didn't.
Right.
As
you say, this show, we only talk about death. Every episode, Jimmy brings up death somehow.
Well, because Jimmy's frightened of death, and I want my kids to understand that death's a part of life, and we have to talk about it.
Right. And it's as simple as that. You might be the only person that they've let back into the park ever.
Oh, my God, I know. I was crazy because I didn't know what to do, and they kept telling me, no. Well, the park is closed, and they were pushing me out.
Right.
But, from New York. I got in.
Exactly.
Then I didn't know what to do when I got in there.
Right.
And it was like, I think I had a cell phone, but I don't know if it worked in Europe then.
Oh, yeah, maybe
This
not.
was like 98. So I don't think it worked.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how to get in touch with my husband. So I was frantic. So I was really.
Right. And that's the story, folks.
That's the story.
Now, you have to promise not to kill me.
Okay.
I got a few anonymous questions that came in.
Oh, God. Okay.
And you feel free to not answer any of these, but I think that you'll like them.
Okay.
And I have to ask you. So I've heard, it's a rumor, Jimmy and Courtney played on the same baseball team in Australia. Is that true?
They did. When we first moved to Australia, Jimmy was 8. Courtney was 10. But Jimmy was very advanced for baseball because in Australia, they don't really start playing, I think. Back
Right.
then, I can't talk about now. Back then, they didn't really start playing until around 8.
Yeah.
So he played on the 10-year-olds.
Right.
And she played with him.
Now, the most pressing of all questions. Who was the more aggressive player on
Courtney.
the team? Courtney.
Because she didn't want to be embarrassed. So the funny story was that as she bowled over the catcher. Because she was coming around home and she did not want to be embarrassed to be out. So she just like barreled through this poor kid and went like flying. Jimmy had the talent. Courtney was like, yeah, no way am I getting out.
Right. Pure aggression.
I think it was only a year, one season. And then my husband had a coach too because he was like crazy with these Australian people telling them how to like play American game
incorrectly.
And he was like, no.
Right.
So he coached. That was the only time they did that. Yes.
I have another one about Jimmy and Courtney. How difficult was it? You've mentioned moving around a good bit. How difficult was it for them? Because I think Jimmy moved as a sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
He probably wasn't that fond of that.
No.
Okay. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, well, yeah. So we did move a lot. And when we moved to Australia, he was okay about it. We actually took Courtney with us there as a site visit. She was 10. They were upset, but it was very hard. We had a really great community in New Jersey, so we were taking them away from everybody they knew and loved. But I was like, it's an adventure. Let's go and see what's going on. So we went, and it was a good bonding experience for all of us. And that's kind of like where also a Yankee thing came in because I would always tell them like, we're from New York and we watch the Yankees, and like that was their identity. I didn't want them to lose that. And then after Australia, we were only there a couple of years, and we moved to Illinois, and then you get settled there. But sorry to anybody from the Midwest, but I didn't really want to live in the Midwest the rest of my life.
Okay, and why is that?
Because I'm not a Midwesterner.
Sure, that's as simple as it can be.
I'm an East Coast person.
Right.
And if I was going to live anywhere other than the East Coast, it was going to be somewhere near water.
Okay.
Like a coast.
Right.
So we moved back. So that was hard for Jimmy because he was playing hockey and he was doing really good, and he was going to be on the high school hockey team. So we moved him to Connecticut. Where, hockey was okay in Connecticut. That was good. So we moved to Connecticut, and we told them we're moving back towards family, like this whole thing. And they were like, okay. So we did that. Courtney was fine because her friends were always in New Jersey. So she was moving back to her friends.
Right.
And then we were in Connecticut 2 years. And my husband got a really good promotion and a really good opportunity, and we moved to California.
Right.
And June was not happy about that.
No.
He like punched a wall. He didn't speak to us. I just found a letter that he wrote. It was really bad. But also we fully agree that he should be mad at us. Like we were okay with it. Like we told him we were moving back here so he'd get settled. He started to get settled. He had 2 years. He was in high school, and in the middle of high school we're like, okay, we're off to San Francisco area, the East Bay. So he was not happy. Courtney was like mad. The one who scared us the most was our younger daughter because she was always like, okay, we're going.
And that's her vibe now too.
Yeah, we're going. And we'd be like, oh, can she form attachments to people? Courtney was always frightened of the hello. Jimmy said he was always sad for the goodbyes.
Right.
So we moved to California. Right? Where would we go? Yeah. Then we were in California for 4 years. And then he was in college.
Right.
And we moved back to the East Coast.
And he followed.
And then he followed, So he followed. So then, So he only, I don't know if he did a full school anywhere.
And is that when Courtney stayed there? So she started college while you were there, and then
no.
Stayed?
So she finished college, and we knew we were going to move. And this is how crazy we are with baseball. Luke played baseball, and he was really good. So we were like, okay, either we move in March, and he starts baseball in the new hometown, or we stay till August till travel season is over. And what do we do? Because Ritzy was graduating high school, so we can't pull her out in March. So the crazy family that we are, Jimmy said, I'll leave college and come to our hometown and go to a community college so I can be with Ritzy during her senior year. And we left in March, and we left him and Ritzy in a Marriott Residence Inn.
Wow.
And they had maid service.
Yeah.
They had this whole place to themselves. They had breakfast and dinner. And we left them in March and came back and picked them up in like the end of May, June. And they would
Wow.
Courtney was in college. She was finishing her senior year.
Yeah.
And they lived there. And Ritzy survived the living with Jimmy. It was like Jimmy and his friends because they did a lot of obnoxious things to her, shenanigans. Sure. And then we all moved back to Connecticut.
Right.
And we were there 8 years.
Wow. I never knew that. That like living in a hotel, I feel like is like the coolest thing, especially at that age. Like,
yeah, well, we moved in like March, and then like April Fool's Day, Ritzy was a very serious student. She came home from school, high school, and Jimmy and his friend had turned every piece of furniture upside down in the room. And she came home to an absolute mess, and she was like calling me like, I can't live with him.
Right.
I can't. But it worked out great. It was great. They had a pool.
Yeah.
He was right near his college. Mm-hmm. They had cars. He had his friend. When we went to pick them up, they said, okay, you're 3 kids. And we said, no, we only left 2, but Jimmy's friend lived with them the whole time.
Right.
So it was like,
that's awesome.
It was great.
Now, we've talked a little bit about Ritzy. She's the only Jom kid that does not work here.
Right.
What is your thoughts on having 3 of your 4 children working in the same place? Does that make you happy, nervous?
I think it's amazing. I pray every day that they still like each other at the end. No, they're great. They're really, really great. I think because they all have their own lane. And I raised them to know that family first, siblings stay, friends come and go.
Right.
And they rely upon each other, and they have different, I think it would be different if they were competing for a role together, but because Courtney and Luke are 12 years apart.
Sure.
That he looks up to her, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I think it's
and
really
then
cool.
That Jimmy and Courtney were always very, very different as kids, personality-wise, and neither one would do each other's job, but they really, really trust each other and love each other.
Mm-hmm. That's evident.
Yeah, dinner conversations are sometimes taken over by Jomboy Media, and sometimes I'm like, all right, whatever. Or the other time, I'm always trying to figure out, what are you talking about? Because I'm always like helping with the kids or like getting dinner out, and I'm like, what's going on? But and then my husband and I like to try and act like we know more than each other about everything.
Sure.
I heard this. Did you hear this?
Well, you were at the Cricket World Cup yesterday. That was cool.
I did. I thought that was great. I really, I think one of the things about moving around a lot, even within the country and then outside the country, is you really learn that the world is so big. And I thought even going there was like amazing because I don't say out of my comfort zone, but it was out of like what I usually would do. Like I've been to professional baseball games, basketball, football games, but never a cricket match. And it was amazing. We had all different weather, right? We had rain. It was cold in the beginning and it was raining. And then it was like blaring sun. The people were amazing. I thought they were great. I loved their sense of pride. I loved their cheering because we would just go, yay. And they were like doing Bollywood dances.
Dancing
it was
and
great.
everything.
It was it was a great experience.
The last question for you that I would be remiss if I did not ask, Jimmy, when he started this whole thing, what were your thoughts? And now seeing what it has become, was this ever in the realm of imagination at that time?
No, Jimmy is a unique individual. He's so smart, and he graduated, and he was so lost, and he didn't know what to do. And Chris was trying to put him down this rabbit hole of corporate world, which Courtney loved, and Jimmy did not want to do it. And he did not have to tell Dad, like, I can't do that. Like, I don't want to do that. So he floundered. But it was the best thing for him because then really Chris said to him, what do you love most? Like, what do you love to do? And he goes, I love to, like, take videos and do things like that. So he went to San Francisco and he went to video school, film school, and he started doing that. And then, everything kind of, and then at one point he was tweeting, and it was funny, early in the beginning, he'd go, okay, I'm going to tweet this out, and I'm going to act like I'm really crazy, like really upset about this, but I'm not. He would, like, warn me. And then anyway, then he came back. We were living down the shore, and he came one summer, and he said, I'm just going to stay now. I'm going to stay here. And I was like, okay. And he's, I'm going to do this. And Chris and I are like, I don't know. We don't really know what he's doing. We really couldn't understand. They make fun of us, that we couldn't understand. But we really couldn't understand what he was going to do.
Sure.
But we just had faith in him.
Yeah.
And we also felt like, well, you don't have a mortgage. You don't have a wife. You don't have kids. Go for it.
Sure.
Like, go for it. Like, this is your dream. Go for it. And then every now and then we look at each other and go, how long do we give him? Like, how long do we say, just do this? And then at one point it really started clicking. And I guess we probably still didn't understand it. And sometimes I still don't understand it because, I'm old. But I'm getting it now. And I'm really happy for him. I'm really happy Courtney came to help him. He like begged her to come on. And then Luke was a natural fit. And, I've known Jake forever too. I've known Jake since they were in high school. So that was great.
Right.
Sometimes I think the stress is a lot for them. And I'm like, screw the company, just take a normal job just because I'm a mom. But I am really happy for them. Happy to be part of all this.
Well, we are happy to have you. You are truly the glue that makes your family all stick together, but also it's the glue that trickles down to Jomboy Media. We all feel your matriarchy here, and you all you make us all feel so welcome. Having us at the shore, always seeing your friendly face in the warehouse, it means a lot to all of us.
Family,
so just
right?
know that it is family.
Your family is your immediate family, but then you grow your family.
Exactly.
And it's the people that you really care about that make your day and make you happy.
Yeah, I feel so blessed to be a part of your extended family.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much, Mrs. O'Brien. Susan, we've gotten to the end, so now I can call you that.
Susan.
Okay, right.
Everybody.
Everybody leave a nice comment in the comments, and just ensure that when you read these, once this episode comes out, that it's only smiles.
Right, because if you leave a bad comment, usually it's my husband that will answer. I never answer.
Right, and you don't want that. And you do not want that. All right, thank you so much. Enjoy your lunch.
Thank you.
Wow, what a fantastic interview with Mrs. OB. Shout out again to her for giving us all of the insight and the truth into what truly happened, 25 years ago. Before this episode had wrapped up, I did not want to ignore all of the questions that you guys had sent in from last week. So despite the fact that Jimmy is off commentating USA and India on Long Island today, I figured let me answer those. And who better to grab at 8:40 in the morning than Sam? So welcome in.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Excited to be here. I haven't recorded anything in this room in a while. Maybe since my feelings episode.
Right.
So.
Well, we will not put a divider between us so that we can't see each other. I promise you that. Before we get into all of the questions, I did want to tell everybody here something very important, because I found out the best way to unwind, and it's with Kushy Dreams. They're the finest in legal cannabis. That's products like smokable Delta 8, CBD flower, and pre-rolls, and they got some great gummies as well. Their Delta 9 THC gummies contain the same active type of THC as the stuff they only sell at the dispensary. And now you don't need to go to the dispensary in order to get that same stuff. They are euphoric and delicious, and everything from Kushy Dreams is federally legal in the United States and discreetly shipped to you. And update, since you're a fan, you all get a special deal. That's right. Go to kushydreams.com, KUSHY dreams.com. At checkout, use promo code JOMBOY for 25% off your next order. Doesn't have to be your first order, just your next order. Get 25% off and enter to win free stuff with promo code JOMBOY today. Go over to kushydreams.com.
Nice.
Thanks. Was that about Kushy or about my ad?
No, that's about your ad read.
Thank you. A quick few hitters before we really dive into all of the questions. And in the meantime, while we're answering these, if anything comes to your mind that you want us to answer next week, drop those in the comments below. And while you're down there, please press the like and subscribe button. That does wonders for this video and the channel. I had to ask you just off the top. Nicky came out with his Yankees ad. Oh my God. How did you enjoy watching that?
I enjoyed it really quite a bit. I thought it was hilarious. I didn't, know the trajectory of the video. So when he was Big Al or Coach Al was like saying, he hit Jeter grounders, did all this stuff, and then cutting to Jeter saying, I don't know who that is. I didn't expect it to take that turn. So that really made me laugh. I thought it was so good. I thought it was really funny and really cool. And we talked about this, but the whole video looked like they had, Nicky didn't really have any interaction with the players filming it, but then it turns out they did. Yeah. So I can't wait to talk to him about that and learn everything and just hear how it went. But I thought it was amazing.
Yeah. I'm very curious if Coach Al and Luca Ponzitanzi's career paths ever crossed.
Yeah.
Throwback to that reference. If you know that one.
Did you watch
are
Joe's
true.
reacting to the video?
I have not.
I haven't yet.
Okay. Well, that's what we'll be doing once we finish filming here. Other two big news in the YouTube world. We got Ice past 300,000 subscribers. So shout out to them. Jack, Zoe, and Ronnie. I know they've been working very hard, and their channel is in such a groove right now. It's really awesome to see. It feels like anything they post does awesome numbers, and the content, it makes sense why it does. The content is so good and so funny. So shout out to those guys and congratulations.
Yeah. That's
And then I don't know or remember if we've talked about this on this show, but after Aaron Jones had a massive game for Team USA, that night we went and changed the thumbnail of the latest ball and play game, as it was the playoff game between Del Caribe and McFlurry Power. We put Aaron Jones in the thumbnail, his name on the thumbnail, and then we ended up promoting that video, putting paid promotion behind it on the YouTube backend and Google Ads to shoot that out to India, Pakistan, Barbados, a lot of the countries that have the highest Cricket World Cup viewership. And that video went from, I think, like 30,000 views to now over 130,000 views. So it was really cool to see the impact, and like we capitalized on the moment, which was cool.
Yeah, everything I'm seeing online in general, not even just like, definitely when Aaron was playing, because everyone's like, oh, what? Well, like I know him, I watch ball and play, but even just like everyone online being like, oh, like I stopped and saw cricket being played the other day, so I stopped and watched, and I like knew what was going on. Or like even when I watched the Aaron Jones's like hero game of USA versus Canada, was the first cricket game I really watched, and I really knew a lot of the game from ball and play. And then we went to cricket last weekend. Like it was just really, it's really cool seeing cricket so much like on my social medias, and like understanding and caring, and how much we've helped people be invested.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. And like you said, being able to watch a game and fully understand it just from watching ball and play is awesome. And I'm like so happy that hopefully everybody else that does watch ball and play can experience that as well. Like there's really no barrier to entry. If you know ball and play, you could turn on a Cricket World Cup game and know exactly what's going on.
Crazy.
All right, let us dive into these questions. Oh, and before anybody mentions it in the comments, yes, I switched seats. Why? Because now we can put Sam and Mrs. OB on the thumbnail. If Sam sat here, they'd both be looking the same way, and it would be a terrible thumbnail. So that's all just thinking ahead.
That's cool.
Thank you. You know what else is cool?
So it's going to look like me and Mrs. OB just had a long
conversation.
conversation.
You guys just talked for 30 minutes. What else is cool? Well, Melinda Farrell, she's cool. And there were a couple warehouse-specific questions. And for anybody that doesn't know, Sam is somebody that works very closely with the warehouse in organizing all of those tournaments. So I figured that we'd start with warehouse-based questions to warm you up to all of the other crazy questions that people may ask. Merrick, our good friend, and one of the most royal names we've ever heard, Merrick Wingington, asked, I love Mel in the booth with Rose for ball and play. Are you going to try and get her back for the next ball and play? And are you trying to get commentators for other warehouse events? Pavel, Floorball.
Yep. I think I remember having a conversation with Mel maybe on the last day of ball and play, inviting her and booking her for next year, of course, schedule permitting. But yeah, I felt really good about her from really the second I reached out, because she basically committed to playing with really little, or committed to broadcasting with really little information or pushing or whatever. She was just kind of down right away, which I was like, okay, this is probably a good sign that, she can just appreciate and understand and be open-minded to what we're doing. Cause that's, really hard to, whenever I'm inviting players or anyone to come participate in the warehouse, it's really hard just to get them to grasp it and agree to, flying out from Mel across the world to spend 4 days in the warehouse. It's a really, really strange concept. So she was on board right away, which was cool and a great sign. And then, I feel like I think that was the key, is just being open-minded and appreciating what we're trying to do. So I think she got that right away. And I'm really glad that it's shown on on the final edits. I saw, I think she commented on the very last post-game show, just like, really nice, like, hey, thanks for so much, for being nice and embracing me and letting me do this. And there was a whole thread of maybe like 26 replies being like, you were great, you were awesome. Like,
maybe 26.
Don't worry. Yeah, maybe.
Right.
I'm not sure. So it's great that, the audience loved her and it came across on camera, but I totally will have her back as long as she is able to, because she, does a lot and has a busy schedule. Like Darren Sammy was awesome and him and Rose were so great. So it was definitely a little nerve wracking knowing, if people were just going to miss them so much and they were going to be receptive. He was the first woman in the booth. So that also, you never know how that's going to go, but it didn't seem like that. People really care about that so much. So I would absolutely love to have her back. But yeah, other than that, we really have our commentators locked up. We have Pavel for Floorball, and he's really bought into that. He loves it. Peter's obviously going nowhere, and Rose is always the staple. So, barring anyone, schedule or other issues, barring people from coming back, I think we really have our 3 foreigners that will always accompany Rose.
And speaking of Peter, he just came off of a lovely Ball and Play 2 tournament. His debut, had he hinted at you about returning to the field in the future? I haven't had a conversation with him about it, but I don't know if he's going to have a choice. Right.
So
he has to.
Yeah, he kind of has to.
Another question came in about the warehouse from Mike. In BB4, Jimmy had said a major goal of the edits was to get to the first pitch underway as soon as possible for Ball and Play 2. It seems like the first pitch isn't coming for a little bit, the coin flips and all of that. Was this on purpose?
I think what we've learned also is that each sport can kind of have its own, to some degree, like set of rules and parameters. And like if Ball and Play, cricket also starts, I believe, with a coin toss. So it's kind of, making that similar. And I think we, A, wanted to test to see if it really mattered, and B, each sport can just kind of have its own, way of life and presenting itself. So that, hey, if this starts with a little bit of, silly shenanigans with a coin toss and then getting into it, then that's just kind of the personality of that sport. And if it doesn't really hinder, then we might as well try it out and see if it works. And, our audience with Blitzball, maybe it's a little bit more strict with get to the first pitch, because that's really what that necessitates. But each sport we can test it out until we know for sure if the numbers speak to definitely don't, or you have some wiggle room.
Yeah, and I think for Floorball, we'll probably be going back a little bit to puck drop, more or less as soon as we can. And then doing some of those shenanigans and fun intro stuff a little bit into the game, where it won't hinder the pace of play or anything.
Yeah.
Last warehouse thing that I wanted to ask, Floorball 2 franchise tournament filming is...
Floorball 3.
Floorball 3, that's definitely what I said. It's next week. It's 8 days away, and we'll be doing orientation. We'll be making a ton of airport runs, the two of us.
This time.
Well, hopefully not this time.
Well, Colin's got an early flight.
Colin has an early flight.
Colin's got an early flight.
Okay, so at this time...
So we might...
Next week, you can see us in the Newark Airport parking lot, so see you all there.
It's truly the best day of the year. Best days of the year.
Yeah, the 4 best days of the year.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. And now we get to record on the GoPro and send Zach a little treat.
Yeah.
So
and he'll keep it in now. We know.
Yeah, we didn't know that.
If anyone didn't watch the Ball and Play 2 pregame episode, opens up with a shot of Matty and I in the van.
Which that was just a test to make sure the thing worked.
Yeah.
And, we did a little treat for Zach, and we did not think that would be in the final edit, but it's so funny. Floorball though, Floorball 3, how is everything prep wise? Do you feel good going into the tournament, being the person that really plans all of that stuff out?
I think I feel pretty good. I have a meeting with the booth later on today to get them all on the same page. Sometimes my hardest thing is that I, really know as much as anyone does, because I'm, in all the planning, I'm making decisions, I'm inviting people. So sometimes, and I know Courtney said this before, sometimes it's hard for me to remember or realize that other people don't know all of this. So sometimes I have to go and explain the real intro basic things, but people just don't have any idea. So I always try to keep that conscious in my mind that I have to really start from the beginning with people just because they aren't in the office and knowing all the planning, and we don't bother them with these details until, we're, a week or two out. But so, yeah, I'm making a great slideshow for the booth for this afternoon. And this floorball has been different, or for any tournament, because we're doing Captain's League right before it. Like literally Captain's League will finish this week. Next week is franchise filming. So I think it's really helpful because it just, people don't have to, like, they're just staying locked in the mindset that we have been for the past 2 weeks of, how to shoot floorball, how to play floorball and all that. So I think that's cool and helpful. Gets players primed and ready. They're all the players are having really a ton of great practice. So that's just a new thing for us, but I think it's been helpful. So yeah, I think I feel good. I think we're getting there. We had a good planning meeting yesterday. It's a lot of new people to the warehouse. A ton of players are coming for the first time. So that's always fun. Like it's, you can only vet someone like so much before you're inviting them, but it's really a huge curveball of how they'll act, when they're playing, when they get competitive, when there's camera on them, that can change someone. Yep. But I think we have a really cool, fun group. Del Caribe's debut for floorball.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it'll go well. We've gotten warehouse days to a really good spot where there's really never too many issues. So I think it'll be great.
And do you think that it will be great on the floor as well? Because this will be your third floorball tournament.
This will be my third, yeah. And I do plan on being a completely different person.
Okay. How so?
In the best way.
In the best way.
Last season, I let my emotions get the best of me, and I let that affect my play. And, I got a lot of penalties, and I just, this should be really fun. Right. And like, there were times where I wasn't having fun. And when I think about it, I'm like, that is crazy.
It's crazy.
Like, when we played McFlurry and like we were playing Nick, I was looking forward to that so much all in the lead up. And then I was playing, I think I probably said out loud when I was playing, like, I'm not having fun. Like, this is miserable because I was just like, they were so good and I wanted to beat Nick and them and I wasn't playing good. And then it just got in my head. So I don't plan on making that mistake again. And I felt good in some of our practice days. Yeah, so I think we'll be great. We have a new teammate. So I think he'll, fall in line quick and get on the same page with us. So, I think Baggage will do well, but I don't want to really come in though with any, like expectations. I think a great thing about Lovia's, was that they, at least to ball and play, came in with like no one thinking anything of them, no one really caring, no one putting pressure on them. They really were able to fly under the radar, and they had a great mindset to them of really being casual and just taking it, one game at a time and not getting too high, where I also would like try to adopt some of that, and hopefully Baggage has a little bit of that, like not underdog, but I don't know. I don't want to come in with so much pressure and expectation. So I'm trying to also remind myself of that.
No, I think that makes sense. It sounds like you're predicting Baggage to win it all.
No comment.
Okay. There's 6 more questions that were asked last week that I just want to ensure that we hit on. Yeah. Again, leave any questions that you want us to answer next week in the comments below. I wanted to start because this is a comment that we get probably every other week, and this is something that Jimmy's answered a while back, I think a few times. So it has been a while, so I want to answer it, but I didn't want to, have Jimmy answer it and keep answering it. Chris and Kyle both asked, are there plans to expand media to cover more markets and divisions? He wants the central divisions covered. Kyle, same question. Do you have any intentions to build out more channels outside of the New York market? Like Shelfie now has a Phillies pod, Chase Station. Would be awesome to cover more teams. Yeah, so the thought process here, it is very, very difficult to grow an audience when you're only covering one team. and just the pure market size is really difficult for a majority of pro teams, especially in the MLB, to end up being able to gather enough of an audience and a community to make that show worthwhile for our business. So a lot of the times what you'll see, Shelfie is a good example here. Shelfie has other business opportunities, obviously his own channel, JM Gaming, which Jomboy Media is fully supporting, of course, and the Warehouse Games where he's able to contribute. He's able to contribute on JM Baseball Trivia, et cetera, et cetera. His like passion project, for lack of better words, we love to have all of our creators be able to do like a passion project, is Cherry Pinstripes, where he's able to cover the Phillies. Now, there, like you said, with no pressure and expectations, there's no pressure on Cherry Pinstripes. It is genuinely something that he can do in his time outside of his other priorities and other types of content, where, yeah, it's something that he wants to and is able to do. So if in the future we bring in other creators that land in a similar boat and they're a Cardinals fan, then yeah, that might end up being the case. But the goal of like going out and creating a talking blank for every team, that's not the goal and not something that's in the cards, just in the nature of that. Yeah, it's very difficult, and Jimmy, Jake, and BBD are on a grind of talking Yanks, and I think the perception is like, oh yeah, talking about my favorite team for an hour a week is something that anybody can do easily. And it's like, no, like they're passing up on like very big events for themselves each weekend in order to watch games, give themselves that hour. So it's a lot more that goes into it, and just the time it takes to develop doesn't necessarily make sense business-wise. But thank you both for asking questions. Thank you as well to 22 Burnsy, who asked about tank tops. With summer officially here, is there any chance that the Jomboy store is going to get more tank tops?
We can ask Patrick.
I'm sure I'm not the only big guy who would buy. Thanks. This is something I sent to Patrick. That is the update there.
Did he respond?
Sent it to Patrick, our head of merch. And yeah, Patrick said he'll be looking into it for, the company that we do all of our print to order. This is something that we're looking into. So stay tuned, Burnsy. Next up, Steven Wilson. And Sam, I want your opinion here.
Okay.
He said that I referred to the company as a sports media startup company. At what point would Jomboy Media not be considered a startup anymore? And I think really the best way to answer this is, like, for us, it's internally, and that's how our brains think and are wired. And my answer to that is never. Like, I will never not think of this as a startup. The size is completely independent of how my brain will think of this, but that startup mentality of like wanting to go after it and avoid complacency and like continue to grind is something that I think will forever stick with me. The analogy that we use a lot is that a lot of these big companies act like cruise ships. They're very slow and just due to mass, but I always want Jomboy Media to be a speedboat. So when we see an opportunity, we can go right for it, beeline for it, and always act quickly and with that startup mentality. I don't know if you feel similar.
Yeah, that's how I was going to answer that is, yeah, I never want to change my brain to feel like we can, coast or like not have to, work really hard or be the first to report on something. A lot of our core values, I think also I identify and line up with a startup mentality of just, always pushing boundaries and trying to do more and be the best. So yeah, even if at some point this employee size or the revenue numbers or whatever it is, sometimes maybe looks like we aren't a startup. I think it's key for a lot of people to keep the notion of like, hey, we still have to prove ourselves. We still, want to reach the top of the charts and do all that stuff.
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. It'll always be like a mentality thing. And I think that regardless of numbers, will make the biggest difference. 3 more questions before we head out of here. Flage asked, any plans to post a highlight reel of Jimmy's calls on the cricket broadcast? I think somebody else asked this the week prior as well, and it's something that's been on the back of my mind. If I have access, like on Willow TV, to go and find when Jimmy's been on the broadcast and can make a highlight reel, I would be open to trying it. I am partly concerned just, the ICC has a third party that will go in and claim stuff. So I don't want to put the channel at risk at all. But I'm open to going and trying it just to see what works.
Yeah, it'd be cool. It'd be also just a cool like memento also for Jimmy.
Yeah.
And then us to always look back on. But yeah, you have to worry about not upsetting anyone or getting into hot water.
Yeah. I was also hoping that they would cut to the booth a lot more so that we could see him. They don't do that much.
They really don't much.
No. But we could still do a highlight reel or at least try it out and see. We can always upload it to the back end and see what happens copyright wise. And then if it's not good, we don't have to publish it. We could just delete it.
Yeah.
But yeah, good to have like internally as a homage.
Yeah.
All right. Here's one from Lytton. We could maybe expand this question a little bit. He said, or they said, I am a film student. I love your channel. It's a huge inspiration. Thank you for saying the kind words. Do you have any advice to a film student that enjoys sports and wants to get involved? So I figure that we expand this question a little bit just into how to be a student and wanting to get involved in the sports world. Because Sam and I both have had unique or not necessarily standard career paths in order to get to this point. My biggest piece of advice is to just do whatever you want to do. So for me, that was, I wanted to do video editing while I was at my software job. And so I just did video editing. And then the key element here, my biggest piece of advice is to share that on X or Twitter. I think that Twitter genuinely serves as like an awesome LinkedIn almost. And it's just good for networking and being exposed into the lanes that you want to. And it's a lot easier for something that you're making to end up getting a lot of eyeballs. So like if you want to be a video editor, edit videos and then post them and interact with all of the Yankees community if that's, what you want to be editing that respond to said video.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. That's usually what we tell a lot of people is, hey, if you want to start a podcast or you want to be an editor, you want to, whatever it is, like just do it.
Yes.
Because you get your reps, you get experience, and you can, teach yourself. And then, that way you have a bit of a like base to work off of when you are interviewing or applying. And yeah, I think that's a really good follow-up advice, and then post it and put it out there. Because even when I'm like looking for people for the warehouse, for example, and like usually my main platform is like looking people up on Instagram or searching via people on Instagram. So like I'll look at if there's this one creator coming, I'll like look through their comments and who's interacting with them or like who they follow. So if you're just out there like putting your name out there, you're just, like you said, much more easy to be found and seen. And then if you have a whole bunch of posts of all the stuff that you've done, then you just make yourself feel a lot more legit than maybe you like think you are.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that's cool advice.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think that this bleeds into the next question. And I often feel a little silly being the person that ends up picking a lot of these questions when they're about me. But I figured if Jimmy's on a break, this is a decent time to answer this, but also tie it in because it doesn't really matter what your background is or was. Like you can use the time at night in order to go and change what your resume looks like. So like my experience has been like creating a secondary resume on the side of what I was doing full time. And I say all of this because Mike P., who's a dedicated listener to this show every week, had left a nice lengthy comment just asking about my academic and or employment background and how I found my way to Jomboy Media. We talked about that a little bit when we chatted with Kyle last summer on this channel. But I was doing software stuff. I went to school for software. Before that, though, an important basketball camp counselor for many summers in a row. But yes, I ended up going to school for software, did software internships, landed a software consultant job. But then at night, I started editing YouTube videos and ended up transferring that resume and making thumbnails for YouTubers, building a resume, and then applying at Jomboy Media and working with Kyle through that process. But yeah, that's all to say, like, you don't need to have the same resume for everything. You could build a separate one. And the last point of this episode that I wanted to bring up, because it was so much fun a few weeks ago and is related to this background stuff, is Sam had created a little bit of a fun game at our last company happy hour. It was LinkedIn Refguess.
It's called Guess In.
Guess In.
The official name.
Can you tell everybody about that a bit before we head out?
Oh yeah, this is fun. We had a happy hour. I always like to try to do an activity for people to get to know each other, and I'll own this. We hadn't had a happy hour in a long time, a formal happy hour. And there was a ton of new people. So I wanted a game that would be fun and interactive, competitive, but also like helps you actually get to know someone and learn something that you didn't know about them, even for people who, have worked together for a long time. So I was trying to think of what that could be that hit all this criteria, and I'll give props to Nick because I was talking out loud with him, and he contributed some idea that then made me snowball. So it really was mostly my idea. And I've been really into LinkedIn lately. So I was like, oh, well, what if I was basically like, all right, what if we did like blind resume guessing? And then I was like, oh, it's kind of like Refguess. And I was like, oh, that's super on brand to just have it be the same. So I spent all day, the happy hour day, scrolling through everyone's LinkedIn. And I was really interesting to learn. And some were really cool. So, like, I really wanted to do Mike DeLeon. He didn't, his LinkedIn started when he worked here, so he didn't have all his back stuff.
Gotcha.
Tried to Jack and Zoe. I don't think Jack had one. I think Zoe only listed us.
I think that's all they have to list.
Yeah, probably.
But yes, Jack in his short said, "I don't have a LinkedIn."
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. So I think it was really fun. I heard a lot of comments of like, oh, like you worked there, like that's so cool. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Which was the whole point. So I think it was great. And we just split people up into 2 teams or 3 teams, 4 teams, so it could be competitive because that's a big like nature of the company, and it's how people can have more fun. Like I also wanted the room to get loud and like excited because that's just how you can get people invested in how they'll really care is make it a game. But yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah,
I liked that a lot.
Yeah, a few people had, like you said, commented like, "Oh, I didn't know that you worked at X place." I was like, "Yeah, I didn't like it."
Yeah,
it was one of internships.
And then you having your basketball camp counselor Lucas was like a small baseball, like a child like baseball umpire. So there was a lot of like deep cuts too that just like foster good conversation and like inside jokes.
Yeah.
So that was a fun one.
That was. Well, thank you for joining us. And it was good. I'm glad that we got through some comments. And I mean, if you've made it this far in the episode, make sure to hit that like and subscribe.
Sure.
Leave two nice comments. One for Sam, one for Mrs. O'Brien.
Should we shout out that guy that you saw cricket? That came up to Jimmy and you?
Yeah. Yeah. We were talking to Jimmy at Sunday's India-Pakistan game. And a community member had recognized Jimmy and then turned to me and said, "Oh, you're Matt from Morning Meeting," and gave me a fist pump and
very nice.
Liked what we were doing. And so shout out to you. Hopefully you are listening. If that is you, comment below, and everybody go find that comment and like it.
A lot of homework.
There's a lot of homework. All right,
everyone.
guys. It's last week before summer vacation.
True.
Thank you all for listening. We will see you next week.